Hello and welcome back to my knitting podcast, Yarn Over Emily. My name is Emily and today we're going to be going through my yarn stash. The fact that I have people to welcome back is crazy. When I posted my first video, really it's just because I love to talk about knitting and I love watching knitting podcasts, but I think as of recording this, I have something like 850 views, which is beyond what I ever would have thought in terms of numbers. So that's just a little bit wild. Yeah, it's been pretty cool, and I thought that I'd make another video. But like I mentioned in my last video, I am not a quick knitter, so I'm gonna have to come up with some in-between content. Hopefully the video quality in this episode is a little bit better than my last one. I'm just using my iPhone to record video rather than my webcam, which hopefully looks a little bit better. I was doing some testing, and with my phone settings, like it is, like if I zoom in, it's like every pore, like you can see every pore. So that's concerning and encouraging at the same time. I'm using a microphone, which I think I used for the last one, but it's like laying on my knee because I don't have a rig to hold it up. Maybe I'll get one of those little influencer microphones. We'll see. But anyways, today I wanted to show my stash and go through it and maybe do some organizing. It's like loosely organized by color right now, but every time I finish a project, I just throw the yarn back on a shelf so it doesn't ever stay organized for very long. And then today I'm wearing my zipper sweater by Petite Knit. I'm sweating. This might have to come off actually. I knit this in a strand of Wool of the Andes worsted in, I think, the color Dove Heather, and a strand of Drops Kid Silk Mohair. Is that what it's called? Yeah, Drops Kid Silk Mohair in white or cream or something like that. When I knit this, the collar was way too tight, like it was against my neck, because I'm physically incapable of knitting loose ribbing. That still looks neat, so I just like tugged the hell out of those strands, and it looks great, but I couldn't do it up. Also, Drops Kid Silk Mohair is pretty itchy to me. It has softened up and loosened up since I knit it. Sorry, I'm just looking in my camera here. So I actually can zip it up now without feeling completely suffocated. It's still pretty tight, but it's up pretty high. I might need to knit another one with the slightly lower neckline. But the zipper, let me get a little closer here. The zipper is sewn fine. It's not super neat. It's not super messy. For my first time ever knitting a zipper, I'm pretty happy with it. But I'm no expert. Like these kind of come, the tape isn't like super secure. This side is the one that, yeah, kind of pops out. But whatever. I'm the only one that wears it. I like it. It's a little bit oversized. And one modification I made was to split the hem down at the bottom. I tend to prefer a split hem, and I wanted this to be like a pretty loose fitting, kind of like wear with leggings, not like athletic, but like outerwear almost. And then I did pretty long cuffs. These have proven to be a little bit difficult to wear under a coat, but I do like the look of the long ribbing. Usually for practical reasons, though, I wear it folded. So that's my zipper sweater. I don't know when I knit this. If I remember, I'll put it on the screen. Or if I look it up, I'll put it on the screen. But yeah, so that's what we've got going on today. I also did my nails. Is it going to focus? For Valentine's Day. They've got little hearts. So I've got those going on. So that is the vibe of the day. I'm sitting on the floor in my office, and we're going to just talk about some yarn. Yay. So we'll talk about this one first because it's right behind me. This is my... Actually, now that I'm looking at it, there's no rhyme or reason. I think this was originally my, like, other novelty yarns doesn't fit into a category box, but now there's, like, some pure Gynt in it that definitely fits into another category. So, yeah, there's no rhyme or reason to this anymore. Anyways, let's go through it. So, this yarn is called I Love This Wool. I bought this from Hobby Lobby, and I mentioned this in my last podcast. I no longer support Hobby Lobby, and I actually got some comments about that, which I was kind of surprised about, but unfortunately, because I won't buy it again, I do really like this yarn. I think I used it to knit my Cambria wrap, which I talked about in my last podcast and I finished recently. I still have 2 balls left, and I think because this is such a woolly wool, I think I'm going to try making felted slippers with what I have left. So I'm kind of excited to try that. It might be something that I try kind of soon because I just think it would be fun. So there's this. It's in kind of a pretty natural gray color. I actually do think it's undyed. Yeah, so this is not gray. This is brown. Natural brown color. So that is the first yarn in my stash. This is going to be a very rambly video. I'm so sorry. Was that a very Canadian sounding sorry? Okay, so the next yarn I have is this absolutely... Actually, I'm glad I'm filming this video. Maybe you can help me. This absolutely beautiful... It's like a thick and thin, slubby alpaca yarn. I'm pretty sure it's handspun. I got this from my mother-in-law for Christmas a couple of years ago now. It's got really beautiful colors in it. I have 2 cakes of this. I don't know how much. I'd have to look it up. I think it might be on my Ravelry. I'll put it on the screen if I find out. But I have 2 cakes of this, and it's so soft and so beautiful. But because of the thick and thin, I have no idea what to do with this. Like maybe like a stripe in a shawl, or like a, I don't know, would a hat work with this, or would it be too gapey? Maybe I'll knit a swatch and see. But yeah, I really love this yarn. I also cannot remember the company that made it, so I'll put that on the screen as well, and I'm sure I'll put it in the description. But yeah, this is so another yarn that I don't really have a home or category for. It's beautiful. So if you have any ideas, please let me know. The next yarn in this is like the crazy bit, and you don't know what's going to come out. But the next yarn that I have is this Noro Mirai. So I have 100 grams of this. It's 300 meters, and as you can probably tell from the orange stickers all over it and the state of the label, I bought this because it was $10. So it was on sale. It's a really good deal. And I was caught up in the Noro of it all. I don't love, if I'm going to be honest, I don't love the gray in this. I feel like it kind of muddies the rest of the colors, but I haven't swatched with this or knit with it at all yet, so I don't actually know how much gray is in it or what it'll look like when it's knit. The colors other than the gray are really, really pretty. And I just have a single skein of this, so I'm not really sure what to do with it. This is actually going to be really helpful too for kind of seeing what in my stash could work with my Stella quilt blanket. So maybe I'll actually set this aside and use it in my Stella quilt blanket. Again, I mentioned in my last video that I had planned to be like very consistent with the yarns I was using for that project, but then I kind of started and decided that I don't care if it's different textures. I don't care if it's different, like slightly different gauges of fabric. So maybe I will stick this one in there, even though it is completely different from all the other yarns I've used so far. I'm actually going to set this aside and put it in my Stella quilt bag. So that's great. Next, I'll just go over this one very quickly. I have a giant ball of fluffy yarn from Michaels. I bought this because I wanted to start crocheting amigurumi, and I wanted to crochet a Highland cow in fluffy yarn as my first crochet and first amigurumi project. And I tried starting this many times, and I couldn't see any of my stitches, and then I gave up, and this has been in there ever since. So it's just gonna go back in the bin, and that's it. That's all we need to know. The last thing that's in here is a quantity of pure Gynt by Sandnes Garn. I have 5 balls of this left. With this, I'm knitting the Esther sweater. This is in color 2122, which I think is called like Yellow Moon or something like that. It's a really nice, like pale buttery yellow color. Oh, look at that. I'm really in my Zoella era today. Gorgeous. This is really a good upgrade, this camera. But my Esther sweater, I was going to make it cropped, but I want to use up as much of this as I can. So I might just see how long I can make it. It is pretty cropped right now, so I think it'll still be cropped. But yeah, so this has a use. I don't know why it's in this bin. I'm actually going to take it out and put it in the right bin. So that is my pure Gynt, and that is our first bin. Yay. Okay, so next we will look at this one. I think I was organizing these by color, which I may or may not have already said. This is looking very warm neutrals toned. I say that and there's like a hot pink yarn on top, but yeah, I think that was the plan. It's definitely not organized anymore, so let's see what's in here. Oh, this is going to be a bit of a challenge to go through. Actually, none of these have labels on them. Let's start with the ones that do. Okay, so I have in here 2 balls of Drops Nord in the color 07. It's like a light beige, kind of heathered color. This is very soft. I bought 2 of these, I believe, because I wanted to make the lavender socks by Stone Knits. I'll put a picture here. And I wanted to use this as the background color. And then I realized I don't love knitting socks, and I don't love knitting colorwork socks, especially. So these have been sitting in my stash for quite some time. And then I actually started knitting like a knockoff pair of penny gloves with this yarn. Not sure where I stand on fingerless gloves, but I have made 1 and a half. These have been in there for quite a while. It looks like I started the thumb increases on these. I probably just need to frog them and start again, or find something else to do with this yarn. I'm also not such a beige girl. I don't know, like, this is my skin tone. It's not really great for me. And then the other beige yarn that I have is this, I believe it's called Rowan Alpaca lace. And I bought this to hold with the Drops Nord when I decided to freehand some fingerless gloves. So this is alpaca as well. It's a more warm tone than the Drops Nord for sure. And it's very, very soft. But again, I don't know, beige fingerless gloves is like pretty boring. So I don't think we're going to get very far with these. And I think I'm actually going to frog this since I have it out. Okay, next I have this skein of hand-dyed BFL sock yarn. This I bought at Knit City Montreal, and I'll put the name of the dyer on the screen. But the reason why I bought this is because I wanted to knit the shrimp, I forget what they're called, but I wanted to knit the shrimp socks by Stone Knits, and I wanted like a pink variegated yarn for the shrimp. And I was looking all through Knit City Montreal, and I hadn't found anything all day, and then I came to this booth, and they had 1 skein of this yarn left, and the name of the colorway was Emily. So I had to buy it, of course. It's super pretty. There's like corals and what are other pink colors? There are like corals and hot pinks and like fuchsias in there. Oh, it looks great with my nails. Oh, that's a good picture. Maybe this will be my thumbnail. But yeah, that's what I use this yarn for. And again, thinking about putting this in my Stella quilt. So I'm gonna put that off to the side. Next is another yarn that I bought at Knit City Montreal. This was 2 years ago now. So 2 years ago? It was May of 2023. So it was like almost 2 years ago. So this was the La Bien-Aimée sort of Knit City Montreal exclusive color. I went back and forth on whether to buy this. I remember this being very expensive. And I couldn't decide whether I wanted to take the plunge, but then I got FOMO and decided to pick one up. So this is the color Alba in the Kumo base, which is 74% baby Surrey alpaca and 26% mulberry silk. And there's 50 grams of this. So I've really been holding on to this for a special occasion. So I'll use this eventually, but for now, it's just something that I squish once in a while. Another yarn that I have in here is the, stay with me now, Noro Silk Garden, Silk Garden, not the sock one. So this is, I believe, I don't know where the label went. So this is the Noro Silk Garden. I don't think it's the sock one. It's 50 grams, not 100 grams. And it is the color, I think it's color 1. And I haven't actually used this for anything yet because I don't know what to do with it. I originally bought, I think 6 balls of this back when I kind of first really got into knitting and didn't understand yarn quantities. So I bought 6 50-gram balls thinking that would be enough for a sweater. Very quickly realized I would not be able to use that for a sweater. And then I ended up selling 5 of the 6 balls on Facebook Marketplace. I really wanted to keep one because it is such a beautiful yarn. So this sits in my stash like the La Bien-Aimée yarn, and I wait for inspiration to strike, and hopefully one day it will. Do you see what I mean about just throwing scraps back in any bin? Like this is an unusable amount of yarn. Again, from before I understood gauge, I have 2 skeins of Plötulopi, which is the unspun Icelandic wool from Ístex. I have 2 of these left from a little shawl that I made called the library shawl from Oleanic Knits, which I loved. I knit that in a strand of this Plötulopi and a strand of Mohair. It's way smaller than I wanted it to be. Clearly, I would love to have the finished object be more wearable, but I feel like undoing or frogging an unspun yarn again would just be a nightmare. So we'll see. Maybe I'll knit a separate one with this, but I would like to use these for something because it is really, really lovely yarn. I really like Icelandic wool. Oh my gosh, we've only gone through 2 bins. That's okay. That's okay. So next I have, this is a cashmere sock yarn, and if you ask me who makes it, I will not be able to tell you. I want to say it's concept by Katia, but I don't know for sure. I believe it is 10% cashmere, and then other than that, like a typical sock yarn quality. I made a pair of lace, not complicated lace, but a pair of lace socks with these, and they to this day are my most worn pair of socks. The heels are almost worn through. They are, at this point, you can definitely say they are threadbare. I don't even think it's like high quality cashmere, if low quality cashmere is a thing. But they are just wonderful. So I've been meaning to weigh this ball to see how much is left, because there's still quite a bit, even though I did a whole pair of socks, but I would knit another pair of socks in these, even despite not being much of a sock knitter. I'm not holding these up very consistently to the camera, am I? So it's a nice like medium gray color. I would use this again, absolutely. Next, we have some Lascaux worsted from Ancient Arts yarn. This is the color Cinnamon, I believe. And I used this to knit my waffle loop sweater by Other Loops. So this was last winter, I believe. And I almost love that sweater. There are a couple of things that I need to redo with that one. Maybe I'll do a series of like fixing my knits. The collar is just too chunky, and the ribbing on the bottom like bells out kind of in the front. So I don't like the way that it sits on me. So redo the collar, redo the ribbing at the bottom, and that would really be a winner. This yarn pills like crazy, and that makes me feel very sad because it was expensive. And I thought maybe it was like an initial pilling, and once I kind of shaved the sweater, it would be okay. And like after I shaved it, it was a little bit better than it was, but it still pills a lot more than I wanted it to. So I have some apprehensions about wearing that sweater, which makes me really sad, but I do have some issues with it. So there's the leftovers of that yarn. It's a nice color. I have another ball of Sandnes Garn Sisu. I don't know, this does not match the color story of this bin. So this is like a clover green kind of color. Bought this to do the lavender socks by Stone Knits, but I don't think I'm gonna knit those, so I'll use this for, again, something someday. But this has not been used, I don't think, at all. Maybe I'll knit one of those little frogs with it, you know, the little frog pattern. I love that, so this would be a good color for that. The last thing that I have in here is a skein of Hawthorne Fingering by KnitPicks in the color Deer Island. Is that the color? Sure. This is the color Deer Island. It is like a tonal reddish brown. To be honest, I don't know what my inspiration was when I bought this. Yes, I do actually. So I clearly went through a colorwork sock phase where I only knit one pair but thought I was going to knit tons of pairs. And I bought this to knit the Radish socks by Stone Knit. So this was going to be my main color. Looking at it now, knowing a little bit more about color, I don't think this would work great with a red contrast color because it is so red. And I'm off my sock knitting journey right now. So I don't know. Maybe this will go in the Stella quilt blanket. It might be kind of a boring square, but it could probably use one of those actually. So now that I think about it, this is going to go in the blanket. Yay! So there's some cotton in here down at the bottom. I don't know why I have so much of this like dishcloth cotton. And then this is an unknown wool in like an oatmeal kind of color. This would be good for the frog too. Okay, maybe I'll make a frog. Anyways, another bin down. Yay, go us. Wow, look at that color coordination. Beautiful. There's mohair falling off me. Hang on. Okay, so this would be my green and blue bin. So the Sisu's going in there. Perfect. Okay, so in this guy we have, oh my gosh, I really just want to be a sock girl, but I'm not. I bought this maybe like late fall, last year, 2024. This is Lang Berry Socks, Super Socks. There's a lot of names for this yarn. This is a 4-ply superwash yarn, and do we know the color here? The color is 901.0470. I don't know if there's a name, but it's like a self-fairyling. Oh, the color is Gooseberry. How cute. It's like a self-fairyling sock. And I bought this more recently thinking, okay, maybe I'm not a colorwork sock knitter, but I could be a self-striping. Like if I buy a fun yarn, maybe that will keep me engaged. So I would still like to make a pair of socks with this. It's a more rustic feeling sock yarn, but I kind of prefer that. It makes me feel like they're a little bit more hard wearing. And even though it's a superwash, it feels less of a superwash. Like, it feels like there are more of the wool qualities to me. So that's what I tend to prefer, but I haven't done anything with this yet. So we'll see if I do. I would like to. When I think about wanting to knit a sock, I think about kind of pulling out this yarn. So I do think I'll use this at some point. Maybe soon. I don't know. I also have a ball of double Sunday. Most of this is just scraps. I don't have many like sweater quantities or project quantities, but I have a partial ball of double Sunday. This is the Sunny Lime color, and I use this to knit a, this is my favorite thing is knitwear vest. I actually mentioned this in my last podcast too. It's a V-neck sweater vest, spring edition. It'll be in the description. I really like the color. I don't know that it like does anything for me, but I think it's really fun. It's like I think it's cute in the spring. I want to get a dress that I can wear it over top of, but yeah, so there's that. This is really just scraps. This, I think, is the same wool as that oatmeal unknown yarn. I used these to knit a pair of colorwork mittens a long time ago, and the mittens are so tiny. They're very cute, and they are not quite as hot as my Alma mittens, so I wear those if it's not as cold out. But they use like maybe 50 grams total for both, maybe even like 30 grams total for both. I might be completely delusional saying that, but this, there's a ton of leftover, so I think this would be too thick to use in my Stella quilt blanket, but maybe I will weigh it and see, because that would be a really nice color to use in there. We'll see. I'll stick that in the pile. Oh, okay, so these are Berrocco Ultra Wool. No idea what the colors are. They're both kind of heathered. And I used these to knit a pair of DK weight socks, 2 pairs of DK weight socks for 2 of my friends. I've got a little bit left. Definitely not enough for another pair of socks, but these have just kind of been living in here as maybe someday I'll use them for something. And that's all the green and blue yarn that I have. So we're making progress. Why is my camera moving? Oh my gosh, how long has that been happening? Oh no. Okay, so in my Mohair bin, I have this little penguin. And then aside from him, I have a couple skeins of Knitting for Olive mohair. I have 5 skeins of the Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair in the color Cloud. I bought this quite a while ago now. This has been sitting in the stash for a bit, thinking that I would use it for a sweater eventually. But I am kind of off the mohair sweater train. So I'm debating between making one last mohair sweater, because I really do like the Knitting for Olive mohair. It's very soft, so I think it would be a more wearable sweater, and just kind of keeping this as a stash of white mohair to use for various accessories, and like gift knits and that kind of thing. So kind of undecided what I'm going to do with that, but it sits here and waits to be used, I guess. And then I have 1 skein of red, almost a full skein, red Drops Kid Silk mohair. I use this to knit a bandana. What is it called? Fancy Camp Bandana, again by Olenak Knits. It's really cute, but I think it's too, maybe I just need to block it again, but it's a little bit too puffy. Like, I don't love the way that it drapes. It's not, it's like a little bit too structured. So I held this double, but maybe I should have held it single. So I'm still kind of figuring out how to style that. I like it with a white t-shirt and like tie it around my neck, but then my white t-shirt's covered in red mohair, which is a struggle. And that's it for mohair. Stick these back. Okay, my last bin of yarn came from this shelf, which you can't really see, but this is my warm toned like reds and pinks, and it's like pretty much the same as this one now that I think about it, but these are more neutral and these are more colorful, maybe. So first, on top, I have my Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino in the shade Blueberry Ice Cream. I'm using this to knit my Madeline sweater, which I have started. Actually, let me show you my progress because it looks so nice. So this is my Madeline sweater. I've gotten one sleeve done and I cast on the second sleeve last night. It's just 5 pattern repeats, so it went by pretty fast. And I'm knitting slightly off gauge, so I'm knitting the size 2, but I have to remeasure my gauge. I might go down to the size 1, but this should fit like the size medium as long as I've measured everything correctly. Me and knitting on gauge are not friends. So we're gonna try this out and see how it goes. I'm very happy with how this is turning out so far. The yarn is so nice and I love it. So back to our regularly scheduled programming. Next in this bin is a whole hat that I need to frog because it's too big for everyone I know. I knit this in Knitting for Olive Merino. I can't remember the color. It's like a pretty charcoaly medium to dark gray. But yeah, I knit this hat. I've now made 3 Oslo hats. The first 2 have fit great. And then this one, I don't know what happened. Maybe I was just very relaxed, but it is way too loose. I forgot that was in here. Just a whole ass finish object. How fun. Finished object. It's not finish. What else is in here? Oh, I have this really nice skein. This is the final ball of yarn that I bought for the lavender socks that I never ended up making. I bought all the yarn for it and I just never made them. But this is from a local yarn store near me, and the color is called Chucky Egg, which I think is a British thing, but I don't really know. It's a very Easter pastel lavender color. It's beautiful. So this I haven't used at all yet, and I've had it for a very long time. And this is going to go into my Silk Welt blanket. I think it'll make a really nice square. So that's the plan for this guy. This is KnitPicks palette in a red color. Oh, look, another one that looks great with my nails. This I bought to make a weekend hat with, but as, again, I mentioned at the start of the video, I'm incapable of doing ribbing loosely, so it was way too tight for me, and I gave it to my friend for her baby. And he is one of those triple folded brims, and he wears it all the time, but he likes to wear it tall. So he never has the brim folded, and it's like he's a Smurf. It's very funny. So I still have a little bit of this guy left. Oh, I've got a lot of this left. Maybe I'll make another hat with this. Or something. Red mittens? That would be cool. It's a very like Elmo red. Like it is red. So who knows? Oh my gosh. Another... Wow. Another failed sock project. Gosh. So this is my attempt at 2 at a time socks. This is a really cool yarn that I've had. I think I've had this yarn longer than any other yarn, and I just haven't found the use for it. So I started knitting 2 at a time socks. I don't even know why I stopped. These look great. See if I can hold up just one. So these are ribbed on the top with 2x2 rib and just plain stockinette on the bottom. I think I didn't love how this was pooling. And this was my first foray into hand-dyed yarn. I was expecting it to be more evenly variegated. And that's kind of an ongoing theme with me and hand-dyed yarns. I always like them better in theory or in the skein than I do knit. So I've got this in 2 even balls of yarn, but this is a full 100 grams that I have never actually used. And that being said, I think I'm going to put this in my blanket. The last skein of yarn that I want to talk about is this Malabrigo Rios. I don't know the color, sorry. I'm really bad. I'm a bad podcaster. But it's in this like fiery red, I think it's called like Volcano or something like that. It's in this like fiery red color. I haven't used this at all either. Gosh, this is, wow. I really just buy a lot of yarn that I don't use. I did use this to swatch for my book club cardigan. I didn't knit it in this color, but I did want to knit it in this yarn. So I swatched with this one that I had before I went out and bought the color that I wanted. So there's a swatch. It definitely looks cool in this color. But other than this, I have not used this yet. And I don't know if I'll put this in my Stella quilt blanket. It's definitely different from all the other colors that I've sort of set aside. But I mean, it's a full skein of yarn and I don't know what else I'll use it for. So I think I will plan to do that. So my Stella quilt pile is getting big, which I'm very happy about. So is that everything? Oh, up here is a cone. I think this might be my last quantity of yarn. This is a cone of Hawthorne Coast, which is their cotton merino blend in the color black. I bought this to knit the Kashwool number 9 3 summers ago as of this summer. And that has been my longest languishing whip. I don't know if I will ever finish now. But it exists. And I feel guilty every time I think about it. So maybe this is the summer that I frog it. I think I'm knitting it on like 2.75 millimeter needles, which is just too small for me. And I have only ever successfully knit one summer knit, which was at a DK gauge. So this might be the year that I give up on Kashwool number 9. So I have a whole cone of black cotton merino yarn that I'll have to find a use for. Well, that's it for me and my yarn stash, which is bigger than I thought it was. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a good time listening to me ramble about yarn. It's really something that I'm passionate about, so I had a good time. If you have any questions about, like if I left any details out about a yarn you're interested in, let me know. Oh, and if you have any ideas about what I can do with that skein of like slubby alpaca yarn, please let me know because I would love to use that. Otherwise, I hope you have a great day and a great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.